Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another game theory reaction, and it's one about Pokemon. Yay! Haven't had a good Pokemon theory in a little bit, and I think the last one... Yeah, I think the last one was trying to figure out whether the new protagonist of Pokemon was, in fact, any way related to Ash. Yes, I think that was it. It's not important either way. Anyway, I solved the oldest Pokemon debate. What would that be? Oldest Pokemon debate. I'm thinking back to my time in the schoolyard and early internet. What were jokes and things that people argued about Pokemon? Yeah, the only one I can think of is that old joke where they ask how can a Skitty mate with a wailord? Which, as a side tangent, found this really fun little comic a little while ago called Tinder Skitty, which was basically this comic on Twitter that a guy makes. It's like Anthro Pokemon, and it's a comic of like a Skitty dating a wailord, and it's just they're adorable. So yeah, let's see how MatPat solved this ancient debate then, shall we? So, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will be leading to my film theory reaction. And with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Pokemon sizes make absolutely zero sense. The fearsome Charizard, yeah, it stands at a measly 5 foot 7 inches, as a couple inches shorter than me. The formidable Lucario, he's just 3 foot 11. It's not even tall enough to get on most Disney rides. And
wait,
Ferret,
really?
You know, the Pokemon that's based on a ferret is supposedly 6 feet long. Not sure I want that thing running up and down my pant leg. Anyway, I think you get the point. The sizes listed in the Pokedex are all over the place, but there's one Pokemon that takes the insanity and turns it up to 11. The float whale Pokemon Wailord. For 2 decades, this guy has sparked fan rage, so much so that it's even spilled into the realm of a full-on academic paper. And all of it stems from one simple question: is Wailord lighter than air? Seems like a weird thing to be asking about your 47-foot-long whale, right? Wrong. Once you look at the rest of the numbers, you see how this has become one of the most controversial topics in all the Pokeverse. So today we're gonna be coming up with a definitive answer. Has the internet hit rock bottom, or is everyone else, including this Pokemon, full of hot air?
Okay.
Hello, internet!
Wait, how heavy is a Wailord again? Man, it's been I don't think I ever actually owned a Wailord. Sorry about that, I had to put a window back in. But as I was saying, I don't think I ever actually caught a Wailord before. I don't actually know what its weight actually is. So I'm gonna guess this is one of those times where it's just like really stupidly light for its size.
Welcome to Game Theory, where today we're going back to our roots, applying real-world research to fictional worlds. Break out the Pixel Rulers class, because today we're overanalyzing the disturbing science of Pokemon.
Oh god, I love these classic episodes so much. I love them. Well, I don't like doing math. I love watching other people do math.
And no, I am not talking about how a tiny Skitty and a giant Wailord are meant to breed. Not touching that one with a 10-foot Alolan Executor. At least, not yet.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
No, today I'm talking about the fact that Wailord is light. Like, stupidly light. As I mentioned in the cold open, Wailord's Pokedex entries confused fans since it was first introduced in Gen 3. You see, Wailord's weight is listed at 877.4 pounds, or about 398 kilograms. That's no doubt heavy, one of the heaviest Pokemon in the entire series, but it is comically light when you compare it to your typical whale. Blue whales, the thing that Wailord is based on, usually weighs somewhere between 290 and 330,000 pounds, or between 130 and 150,000 kilos. Practically 350 times the weight of your standard Wailord. So these guys are heavy, but not too heavy, you know? Where things get controversial is when you factor in Wailord's other measurements. Wailord's quote-unquote height is listed at 47 feet, or 14.5 meters. He's massively big for not a lot of weight, prompting many fans online to speculate that Wailord may in fact be the lightest Pokemon in all the games relative to his size. Some have even gone so far as to say that Wailord is so light, he's literally lighter than air. The argument's been so heated, in fact, that it eventually spawned a real research paper from a real university in the UK. And their conclusion? Yep, Wailord is, in fact, lighter than air.
Okay, so Matt Pat, what are you going to be throwing into this whole thing if they literally did the math?
Strap a string on that guy, you got yourself a big old whale balloon. Reddit, though, they weren't buying it, because of course they weren't.
Yeah, it's Reddit.
This prompted a massive post arguing the exact opposite, that no, wailord is not lighter than air. So today, loyal theorists, we're gonna be putting an end to this seismic debate. We're crunching the numbers ourselves to see who was right, who was wrong, and who was super nerdy. It was all of us.
Yeah, everybody in this.
Will wailord be sailing the seven seas, or floating amongst the clouds like a Thanksgiving Day parade balloon? Ladies and gentlemen, it's Morty time.
Leave your theories in the comments below. I'll pick my favorites in the next episode of Morty.
So, how does one go about proving whether a fictitious whale is able to float through the air? Well, it all comes down to a little scientific principle called
density, of course.
Density is the measure of how much mass something has per unit of volume. If we have ourselves two cubes of equal volume, one made of lead and the other made of wood, the cube of lead would weigh more and thus be more dense. If I then drop that cube of lead into a fluid that's less dense than it, say water, the cube will sink to the bottom. If I drop the cube of wood into the water, meanwhile, it would float since wood is less dense than water. It's all pretty self-explanatory stuff. It's also pretty darn easy to calculate. All you need to do is divide the mass by the volume and bam, you've got yourself the density. Classic equation, D equals M over V, DMV. The one place where dreams go to die. So let's just take ourselves an easy example here to get warmed up. Voltorb. Voltorb is a nice round sphere, so figuring out its volume should be quick. According to the Pokedex, Voltorb has a height of 0.5 meters or 1 foot 8 inches. Its radius is half that, so 0.25 meters. And the formula
really
for the
small,
volume of the sphere
actually.
is V equals 4/3 pi r cubed. So plug it in our values.
I always imagined them to be bigger.
0.065 cubic meters. Now, all you need to do to figure out Voltorb's density is take that listed mass of 10.4 kilograms and divide it by the...
Wait a second, yeah, I just realized how ignored these sizes are really, because it said that Lucario was like 3 foot something tall, and yet in the anime when they've shown them, these the Lucario that they've showed have been on like a par with like Ash in size, and Ash is like, well, he's a kid, so he's short, but he's not like, yeah, and Ash is supposed to be like 4.5 feet tall, so the anime is doing something weird there.
The volume that we just got to get a density of 160 kilograms per cubic meter. Comparing that to the density of air, which is 1.293 kilograms per cubic meter, we can see that Voltorb is definitely not floating away on the breeze.
No.
The density of water, it's actually much higher, 1,000 kilograms per cubic meter. So Voltorb would actually float on the water, despite him being a giant metal ball, which means in real life, you'd probably be able to teach your Voltorb how to use surf. That being said, this is all pretty easy math, right? Here's the...
A floating Voltorb. Oh, geez, okay. Just make sure it doesn't know self-destruct or any electric moves. Stay away from Voltorbs, they're volatile.
Problem with wailord, though. Unlike Voltorb, who's a perfectly shaped sphere, wailord is a blimp-shaped whale, and finding his volume is not as easy of a plug-and-chug solution. So let's just take a look at how both sides of this Pokepuzzle tried to solve the problem. First, there's this paper written by William Farmer, a student at the University of Leicester who wrote an undergraduate research paper in the school's Journal of Interdisciplinary Science Topics. I gotta say, love the fact that this debate's been going on for so long that the kids who used to argue about it on the playground are now old enough to write their own published research papers about it. Truly, William Farmer, you are a man after my own heart.
Oh my god, the world is moving so fast!
If you're looking for a job, feel free to apply for Theorist script writer. Anyway, he calculated wailord's size using pixel measurements in a classic Theorist move. He used a cylinder to estimate wailord's base shape, claiming that the overestimates here, these empty parts where the cylinder is bigger than the body, those would help account for the parts that stick out like his tail and his fins. The volume of a cylinder amounts to pi r squared h, so pi times the radius of the cylinder
times height
multiplied by the cylinder's height. So with a wailord cylinder height of 14.5 meters and a radius of 2.855 meters, he figured out that wailord's volume would be around 370 cubic meters, making the density 1.08 kilograms per cubic meter, which is lighter than air at 1.293. So case closed, right? No. You see, despite this coming from an academic journal, the paper makes a lot of assumptions about Wailord's shape and volume, and this got Reddit eager for a more precise solution. This post comes from the R Pokemon subreddit by user PetscotMiju, who also used pixel measurements, but this time refined Wailord's estimated shape. Instead of just reducing him down to a simple cylinder, they instead decided to add a hemisphere to each end of the shape. That way they didn't need to explain away as much empty space. They also recognized that pixel measurements tend to be slightly inconsistent across different games, and so they tried to correct for that as well. This led their estimate for Wailord's radius to be smaller, 2.2 meters as opposed to 2.8. Their cylinder length then was 8 meters, leaving about 2.1 meters on each end for the tail and the head. In total, this refined equation where they added up the volume of the cylinder and two hemispheres gave them a significantly smaller volume, only 166.24 cubic meters, less than half what the academic paper had proposed. Divide Wailord's mass of 398 kilos by 166 and you get 2.39 kilograms per cubic meter, which is nearly double the density of air and a vastly different conclusion than the academic paper.
See, it's stuff like this. Math is just a tool. It can be, whether it's right or wrong is all about variables.
Numbers like that, your float whale Pokemon here, he ain't floating anywhere. So which is right? Well, off the bat, the Reddit approach seems to be the more accurate method. While both options are assuming certain parts of Wailord's shape, the Reddit one is taking precautions by doing multiple calculations to account for the nuances of both his shape and the differences in pixel measurements across games. I gotta say, my friends, I am on Team Reddit for this one, but you guys know I'm not gonna just leave it there. These calculations, they're not perfect. Between its little grooves, its crevices, and the giant fins and tail, there is no perfect shape to truly describe what a Wailord is.
He is friend-shaped.
It's not a cylinder shape, it's not an ellipsoid shape, it's just a Wailord shape.
It's a Wailord shape,
where our two density debaters get into trouble. But what also complicates things is that the scale of Wailord has never been consistent. Since Wailord is so much larger than just about every other Pokemon in the game, it's always shrunken down, so it can fit within the confines of the system, the battlefield, or the screen. And with Wailord being so large, any amount of estimation error gets exaggerated to become a whale-sized problem. Without factoring in that sort of inconsistency, who knows? You might conclude something insane, like saying Wario is 10 feet tall or some ridiculous like that.
Oh god, I remember that episode. That was so weird. I need to look at that one again just to like remember how we figured it out.
My dearly beloved pixel
I think
measurements,
he used
they might not
Smash
be
or
the best tool to
something?
give us the most accurate numbers in this instance. So how do we get the most accurate results and settle this debate once and for all? Well, in the wise words of Patrick Starr,
We have technology.
since the release of both
Of
the Reddit
course.
post and the research paper, Wailord has made the switch to the Nintendo Switch with Pokemon Sword and Shield. In the Isle of Armor DLC, we finally get to see Wailord in all his blubbery glory, just as Arceus intended, which means that we finally have access to a full 3D model of this Pokemon. No more pixel measurements based on weirdly angled sprites required. This means that we can take this new 100% accurate 3D model and import it into a 3D modeling program like Blender.
I gotta go back for a second there, but just the image of like a wireframe Pokemon, such as like a Wailord, just slowly spinning on like one of those like neon cyberpunk backgrounds. It is such a weird visual, isn't it? Oh god, I swear, who edited this episode? Does it say in the description? It just gives a bunch of editors. Okay, so there wasn't just one person on this episode.
3D model and import it into a 3D modeling program like Blender. While this program is typically used for creating 3D models, it also allows you to do things like measure the volume of your, or in this case, Game Freak's creations. Therefore, as long as we have the proper scaling figured out, we can use Blender's built-in tools to get the exact volume of a Wailord. No estimates required, including the tails and fins. Now, up to this point, everyone's been using Wailord's Pokedex height to measure his length, which sounds confusing, but this is actually a common quirk amongst the Pokedex. Sometimes it means vertical height, but other times, especially when you're talking about long Pokemon like Wailord, it means length. But just to make sure that we didn't get the math wrong, I wanted to be extra careful. So I took a look at every depiction of Wailord that we've ever been given, like the size comparison tool from Generation 4, or the player character standing next to Wailord in Sword and Shield. Given that the trainers in the series are usually around 5 foot 4 inches, there's no way that Wailord's 47-foot height in the Pokedex could refer to anything other than his length.
Yeah, can you imagine, like, the tube that is Wailord being 47 feet in diameter?
So, with that one settled, I was able to make sure that our Blender whale was scaled
Oh, and they even
correctly.
have it
And by
animated
creating a
to
mesh
spin.
for him, we can use Blender's volume calculator to tell us that Wailord has a volume of 182.8557 cubic meters precisely. No estimates, no assumptions, that is the exact number.
You gotta love decimal points, especially when they go up to the tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000ths. That's it.
From there, all we have to do is divide Wailord's 398 kilograms by his volume to get a definitive density. Drum roll, please. Really? That's the best we got? I gotta admit, I don't know what we gotta do at this point. I'm perturbed by the lack of a solid drum roll, Yossi. Fix it, man. Pull out all the expenses next time. I want a drum roll that will melt minds.
Those drum rolls are on Food Theory.
Yossi, I
Right.
put you in the shaving episode, so you better promise me. Thank you. Where was I? Oh yeah, his true density. Wailord's true density is 2.18 kilograms per cubic meter, which means that I can now say without a shadow of a doubt that Wailord is not lighter than air. Even if you don't include Wailord's tail into overall calculation, it still wouldn't be enough to get him airborne. And honestly, all this checks out. Wailord being lighter than air would have broken the other information that the Pokedex tells us
Exactly.
about. Wailord's Pokedex entries going all the way back to Sapphire tell us that Wailord can knock out prey by the shock of its splash, which, you know, is gonna be pretty hard to do when you're so light you can't even hit the water. So there you have it, my friends. The debate is finally squashed. Wailord is not lighter than air. Reddit was right. Not completely, obviously, but their
They were a
conclusion
bit
was
off.
pretty darn close for an estimate. I guess we'll just have to leave floating off to the sky to Team Rocket.
Team Rocket's blasting off the
And now with that one out of the way, tune in next time when we calculate how the density of Cosmoem would end the known universe. But hey, well, the Pokedex is a great tool for
Black
trainers
hole,
like you
yeah.
to keep track of the heights and weights of every Pokemon.
You know, I will say with Pokemon and stuff, I'm very hit or miss with, since they moved to like 3D free roam and stuff. I mean, like, I sort of like that you can like see the Pokemon like in the grass. You can kind of avoid them and find the ones you want to find and stuff. But it's stuff like this where with the move to 3D, you can actually see the proper sizes. And just while I was watching this, I came up with the idea that possibly to counteract its naturally very lightweight, it will like hold water in its mouth or it's like in its digestive system, so it gives it more weight so it can like dive a little more easily or something. And then maybe like a submarine, it'll spit the water out so it can like it can ascend a lot quicker. And who knows? But yeah, I swear, I love these older style like game theories where it's just all about math and trying to figure out whether something is even physically possible. So yeah, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will be leading to my film theory reaction. And with all that out of the way, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.